Welcome to the Carver Earth Removal Committee meeting for December 3rd. We're in meeting room number 1 at the Carver Town Hall. It is in fact 3 o'clock. If everybody could just please silence their cell phones so we don't hear the Christmas bells ringing. I'll recognize board members first. If in fact I do have any audience participation, board will be first. Audience, if I want, or if I'll allow it, will be no more than 2 minutes. Myself or the acting chair will have the right to stop any conversation whenever we see fit. And please keep your comments down to a dull roar, unless you're called upon, please. Area 58, thank you very much for being here. You'll be recording. Anybody else in the audience that's going to be recording, state your name for the minutes, please.
Aaron.
Thank you very much. So based on some information that's just hit the secretarial office today, a 674-page email has prompted this new policy, which will be effective now. Any new information from anybody, including any interested parties in the audience, must be received 48 hours prior to any scheduled meeting. All information is to be hand-delivered, 10 copies for board members and staff. Information can be delivered to the permitting department at the Carver Town Hall, please. We've been getting an influx of paperwork, and it is putting a burden on the staff. So if we can adhere to that, that would be great. It'd be greatly appreciated. Approval of the minutes. Any discussion on the minutes today, everybody?
Nope.
Actually, I'm sorry, let me back up. We're missing 2 board members. Mr. Ward is down and out for a little bit, and John Mason had talked about it at the last meeting. He was not going to be here today, so we are in fact a quorum right now. So we have 4 of us. We do have a quorum. So I apologize for that, but approval or discussion of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion and a second so we can discuss them if you'd like.
I'll move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Roger.
I second that.
I just have to point out an error.
Yep, so we've got a first and a second. We'll discuss them, and then we can... Perfect. So, Michael, you're on.
Okay,
Discussion, please.
Page 2, down towards the second to the last paragraph, it says Amy left the meeting at 4:15 p.m. That should reflect Amy Quinsell, attorney,
Okay.
town council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. And we had spoken just a few moments ago, Ashley, about the very top and start of the minutes about the 2 members of. You're going to correct that for us?
Yep.
Or you can just strike it, however you prefer to do it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll keep that.
Do you have any amendments to the minutes as they're presented?
Beyond that, no.
So we have a motion to approve as amended.
As amended, yes.
Judy, second.
I second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have 4-0, Ashley. Thank you. On to the next potential meeting date. Again, we're trying to do the first Tuesday of the month. The first Tuesday of the month of January is the 7th. It is obviously after the new year, so I'm hoping we're all clean for that, the 7th. And again, I'm still thinking 3 o'clock so as to not interfere with the select board.
That sounds good.
Good for Judy?
3.
That's
Good
good.
with me.
Okay, so there we go. We're going to meet the January 7th, 2025 already, at 3 o'clock right here in meeting room 1. So we can note that, Ashley, that'd be great. Okay. There was in your packet, I'm sure everybody received it, there was an invoice from the consultant doing some background work for us on calculations for a total of $665 due by the Carver Earth Removal Committee. The rest of the invoice went to finance. Love to have a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve the $665.
Thank you, Judy.
I'll
I need a
second that.
Thank you, Mike. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have 4-0. Thank you very much. Agent Forg is not present, so we'll skip right past that. We'll move on to the continued public hearing for the AD Makepeace Company off of Federal Road on map 131, lots 1 and 2, and 1-3. There is nobody here from Makepeace today. They had a conflict. So we will further continue that to January the 7th at our next meeting, please. And we did receive an email from Frudor that they want to continue, asked if they could continue their meeting as well to take care of some things that
That's right.
the board had asked for.
They wanted to address some of the public concerns.
So that was the continued public hearing for Frudor Real Estate, Mayflower Road in Carver. The assessors parcels are 122-18, 122-10, 122-2, 122-4, and 5-2. So we'll continue that one as well to January 7th. And then we have a new public hearing for the Route 44 Development Company, LLC, located off of Green Parkway, also known as Montello Street, map 20, lot 2. Is there anybody here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my name's George McLaughlin. I'm one of the owners of Route 44 Development. My engineer is about 15 minutes away, so I'm also an attorney. In court, you'd ask for a second call. I can start a little bit of the presentation now
If you would, because the next thing on our agenda is to adjourn.
Oh, okay. Then. All right, well then, is it okay if I see?
Absolutely, sir.
All right. First of all, thank you, folks. This has been a very exciting project for us. It's been 10 years in the making. I don't know how much you're familiar with this property and what we have been doing over the past 10 years. But in a nutshell, we've put together a, really we think a first-in-class group of engineers and surveyors and other professionals to develop this site. And as you may recall, back in the 90s, Carver did a study, and they were looking for economic development. And they identified this parcel in North Carver as a key parcel to be developed for the economic development or economical, the economics of the town. All of the tax revenue that would be generated and other revenue for the North Carver Water District, which is another discussion, but would be a big generator of water and a big generator of taxes. So what my partner and I did way back when, 2013, is we acquired what I'll refer to as the Mead property. It was about 127 acres. And what we did is we owned kind of the hole in the donut, if you will. We owned 127 acres, but there was another, probably over 100 acres, 120 acres around us that needed to be acquired. So what I did is, my background is as a practicing attorney. I've tried probably 160 jury trials. I've tried a lot of eminent domain cases. As a matter of fact, I represented a lot of cranberry growers down here in Carver when Route 44 came through. And so what I did is I went to the Carver Redevelopment Authority and I said, look, if you want this area developed, we have to put in an urban renewal plan. And you have to have the power of eminent domain to take parcels if that's necessary. And I told the town, I said, I don't want to take any parcels. I want to go around and negotiate with all the property owners and buy the property from them at fair market value, even above fair market value. But if someone's property is worth $300,000 and they want $3 million, you know, you can't let that stand in the way of a development. So long story short, after, you know, hearings on the state level, hearings before the select board here, after many years and citizen participation, we were named as the redeveloper of the site. So what I then spent the next 5 or 6 years doing, I think that happened in about 2015, 16. What I spent the next 5 or 6 years doing is going around and meeting with those individual property owners and negotiating with them, and it took me 6 years to assemble the entire site. We didn't have to use eminent domain at all. And there were people out there, there was one couple that was, the husband was sick, and they said they didn't want to sell. The husband actually had a disease that my father died of, multiple myeloma. So I said, look, it's your home, I don't want to bother you, when you want to sell, come to me. And then they eventually came to me and we struck a deal. So I think if you talk to any of those property owners, they were treated more than fairly as any of us would like to be treated. Then we had the Hillwood group come along and they wanted to buy the whole site from us, so they put it under agreement with us. And their plan was to build, you know, the last plan they put on record was 1,200,000 square foot building and a 570,000 square foot building. Basically what they were looking for is they were looking for the tuna fish, okay? They were looking for the Amazon, the whatever. And they were going through and getting different permits. And then the economy hit a wall and all that business dried up. So my partner and I, Bob and I, who both have extensive real estate development and ownership experience, decided, hey, let's just permit it ourselves. And we've had a great relationship with the town. So long story short, we went and permitted the site. We got permission from MIPA for 1,770,000 square feet of warehouse industrial space, or really a lot of different things could be built there. We came to the town and we went through the definitive planning process with the planning board, and we received our definitive approval last February from the planning board. And we also, unfortunately, ran into a PFAS problem, and I'm sure you're familiar with PFAS, the everywhere chemical. And what had actually happened was one of our prior owners, one of our predecessors in title, brought material in from a sludge facility in the city of Marlborough, mixed it with soil and put it on our property. And so when we were doing different testing and what have you, we discovered the PFAS problem. So we, over a 2-year period, studied the problem extensively, worked with the DEP, and came up with a plan. And so basically what happened was we came up with a plan, and in the, I'm trying to get my bearings straight, this wasn't going to be my presentation, I'm doing my best to kind of, on the Middleborough side of the property, I'll say, we gathered all of the PFAS material up, put it in a corner, put a heavy membrane over it, and basically capped it, and have approval from the DEP that we, you know, the DEP's head was kind of spinning, to be honest, because we did it so quickly and so efficiently. And so we've also cleaned up the site. You know, the site, as you may recall, has been a long abandoned site. It was an old worked out sand and gravel pit. People were dumping things there, concrete or whatever. We've straightened all of that out. So long story short, we've had a couple of local businesses approach us. I asked them for permission to use their names. They said not yet until we have a signed purchase and sale agreement, and we're starting to go through the permitting process. Okay, so one of them wants to build a 450,000 square foot facility, and the other one wants to build a 150,000 square foot facility. So one thing Bob and I have been doing is we've been getting all of our permits straight, so that when that person comes along, we're ready to go. We filed a new subdivision plan because my attitude was there seemed to be a lot of good businesses out there that were sick of leasing space. As a matter of fact, a 450,000 square foot user is a local business that had to lease a bunch of different space, and they just wanted to own their own property. So my attitude was, I wanted to kind of be CVS. I wanted to have everything there. And so if you want us to build a building, we'll build a building for you. If you want to buy a piece of property and build your own building, we'll sell you a piece of property and you can build your own building. So these two folks want to build their own buildings. All right. Then, so we have some real live people who I'm, 90% sure are going to close. So then we started looking closely at the subdivision plan that was approved, and we were talking to other people, and basically, and my engineer will come at the end, and I'll tell him, all right, you don't have to go over what I've already gone over, the background, just get into the detail. But the front of our site, one of the things we did, we built our access road, a green parkway into the site. We put that signal in there, and we did that with the help of Mass Works grant. We filled out all the applications, and the town applied for a grant, and we received a grant of $3.2 million to build the road. And then my partner and I contributed $800,000, so that was about a $4 million road that then we brought in the water lines and what have you right to the front of the property. And that road was built by PA Landers, as you may know. So here we are, we have our site all set, we got a couple of customers ready to go, and the market's starting to come out of its malaise, if you will. And we have other people inquiring, but everybody who looks at the site says, well, what's going on with this front part, okay? Our original plan was, or our new plan is to have like a 4-lot subdivision so that we can still put down a 1 million square foot building if that comes along, but we can also take care of smaller users. So on that first, and I don't know, what do you folks have in front of you? Do you have any plans or anything that?
We have all your copies of, the hard copies of plans behind us, which we haven't got to yet.
Yeah, that's okay. I can.
Just so you know, Mr. McLaughlin, the way we typically do it here is that we invite you guys in, you've done all your due diligence
Yeah.
with your green cards and notification of the abutters and such like that.
Yeah.
We let you tell us what you're doing, because most of us have not seen the site.
Yeah.
So what we'll do here is the same thing that we've done with every other permit, is in fact,
You'll do a site visit?
hear you out. We'll ask you a few questions from the board. I'm not going to allow any audience participation at this point.
Yeah.
Because we just don't know enough.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've never been there. I'm not in the practice of going on other people's property before
Yeah.
we're allowed.
Yeah.
So we'll do a site visit here sometime in the next month before that January 7th meeting.
Yeah.
And then we'll be able to kind of get our head around it a little bit, if
Yeah,
you will.
good.
So that's kind of how we've been doing it
All
for
right,
us. So
good.
we do have the plans here, and
Yeah,
that
but
we'll
I just
disseminate
wanna-
to the group.
I'm used to trying jury cases. I'm used to standing up in front of you, although it's a little more formal than they're big and what have you. But this is basically our site. And as you can see, we have a road A and a road B coming in. Road A is, ends in a cul-de-sac.
Yep.
And road B is, completes the circle.
Sure.
And we have 4 lots. Lot 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have lots that aren't developable with cranberry bogs on them, et cetera.
Sure.
And what our plan is the 2 buyers I told you about, one buyer wants to build on this 20-acre lot, 50,000 person wants to build there. The person who wants to build 450,000 square feet is on lot 3.
Okay.
And as far as lot 2, we've had some interest in lot 2, which is in the middle of the circle there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where, when you go out to the property and you look at it, you come in, well, if we were coming in from 58, if you folks were on 58, if you came in Green Parkway and you were looking in at our site, you'd see this huge mound in front of you
Okay.
of sand and gravel and what have you. And we've done elaborate studies of the site, and we've been trying to use all of the sand and gravel on site, if you will, by doing a balanced cut and fill. And ironically, I was talking to Meg Sheehan, I recognized her today. I guess she's here to unfortunately oppose my project. I've actually represented, total disclosure, I represented L. Knife and Son years ago on an eminent domain taking, and I worked with Meg, and so I recognized her. I said, hey, what are you doing? What's up? And she said, well, I'm here to oppose your project, among others. So I said, well, look, if you can put a man on the moon, you can work things out. This isn't a sand grab. I've been working on this for 10 years, get a lot of money invested, get 2 great local businesses, and my plan right now is we're getting ready to send our road out to bid with local road contractors. In a perfect world, assuming we get our permits from you and our revised subdivision is allowed, we're gonna be building that road somewhere between April and June of next year. And our game plan is to go in and mass grade the site from April, May, June, or whatever. And I don't mean to be presumptuous, this is kind of
Sure.
my wish list, so I don't think I'm.
It is Christmas time after all, so there you go.
Yeah,
May as well ask now.
Exactly, thank you, it's getting early. In a perfect world, if I could have my wish, my Christmas wish, would be in there, would build the road, would level the site, clear and grub, whatever, and have that all ready to go. We'd do that work from whenever we start in April, May, and the local builders I've talked with have told me, yeah, no problem, clearing, grubbing, leveling the site, what have you, by December, basically December 31st of 2025. Then what would happen is, the following spring, as soon as the weather broke, we'd go in there, excavate for the utilities and what have you, and build the roads, and the road would be done by the following December. But as I say, the reason we're here is we've had our engineers, Bowler, and different professionals look at it, and they say, look, no matter how you slice this, you end up with approximately 480,000 cubic yards of excess material. That's if we, if we lose it on every nook and cranny we can on that property. Our plan is to bring it down to an elevation of approximately 90 feet. And my partner, it's too bad he isn't here, I think he must be tied up in traffic too. You get the lawyer, not the boots on the ground, but I know enough to be dangerous. As I say, what the marketplace wants is they want a nice level site, they want that road in, and we just have excess material. And I'm familiar with what's going on down here with earth removals and what have you. This isn't, it's a lot better ways to spend your money than spend 10 years and a lot of time and a lot of effort on behalf of the town, who, as I say, have been great to deal with, whether it's the planning board, the town administrator, the town planner, the Carver Redevelopment Authority, hopefully your board. Great to deal with. They've helped us every step of the way. And as I say, this has really been kind of a public-private partnership, because the Carver Redevelopment Authority selected us as the redeveloper of this site. And I'm telling you, I can just feel it in my bones. This is gonna be a good development. This is gonna be a huge taxpayer, not only real estate taxes, but excise taxes. Because one of these companies that wants to go in there is a huge excise taxpayer. And the best thing about both of these uses is they're not gonna be on the roads at all. They're just gonna go right off our property and onto Route 44. They're not gonna use any town services, but they're just gonna pay millions and millions of dollars in taxes. And so, if my partner and I were looking for a 480,000 cubic yard sand grab, this isn't the way to do it. I mean, this is the sand is kind of the tail wagging the dog, if you will. So, as I say, I wasn't prepared to make the presentation. If I could just have 2 seconds to review my
Sure.
engineer's presentation to make sure I haven't left anything out. You know, obviously, we've reviewed all of your regulations and are totally familiar with them.
Well, you've done a pretty good job thus far of explaining that you do and understand what we're looking at. In order to make this project go forward, you'll need to have all the boards sign off, and we'll need those sheets.
Yeah.
Approvals from everybody to make sure that they are all good as well.
Yeah.
Conservation, public safety.
Concom, everybody has signed off
Good.
on this. The only sign off we don't have, we have conservation, we have public safety, we have, you know, fire, police, everything.
Good.
Everybody's all happy with our roads. We've had, you know, all of our traffic studies. I mean, we've studied every square inch of this site. You know, as I say, this has kind of come up at the 11th hour with people saying, well, this is weird because the way it's set up now, we have, if our road goes through that front lot, the way it is now, you know, it's going through like the Grand Canyon, and you can't see the rest of the site. And
Sure.
everybody we talk to says, not only can you not develop that lot too, but it's just weird. You can't see it. It's, you know, you need to take this down.
The soil you're talking about, give or take, is 480,000 cubic yards.
Yes.
And in your perfect world, it is Christmas time after all.
Right.
What's your time frame that you're thinking about?
Well, I know you folks have regulations regarding how many trucks and what have you can
We
go
do.
off there a day.
Yep.
So we're in no hurry, whatever
Okay.
you people say. In other words, because we've discussed this, and basically what we were saying is, look at whatever's good with the earth removal committee. I told Meg I'm happy to talk with her and her group and see what their issues are, and maybe we can work those out. We're in no rush, because what we think we would do is, you know, obviously, with your permission, what we thought we would do is, we'll take that hill down, okay? We're gonna take whatever we can and use it to flatten out the rest of the site.
Sure.
And then whatever is excess and left over, we'll, you know, we want permission to process and sell.
Okay. One of the questions I have, then I'll open it up to the board for whatever burning questions they have. Is this virgin soil, or is this material that's been trucked in over the years, if you're aware?
It's mostly virgin soil, I believe, but there was a section of that hill is an old stump dump.
Okay.
Because I was talking, it's funny, I was talking to one of the local road builders about the site. I went around and visited with everybody, the usual suspects.
Sure.
And they said, well, what's in that hill? I said, oh, that's virgin soil. That's been around since the dinosaurs were roaming the earth. He says, no, it isn't. I was in there when I was 18, and they used to dump stumps in there. And so we had our geotechnical consultant go in and do borings, and he says, yeah, this area is a stump area. But one of the things we did to clean the site up is there was a big stump dump on that site. A fellow named Ed Whitworth, when he was running the site, brought in a bunch of stumps and what have you. So we excavated that.
Okay.
We shredded all of the old stumps and we spread it around the property. And that's what we plan to do with this.
Okay.
You know, we're gonna keep that on site, but the rest of it's, virgin soil.
Okay. I'll open it up here to the board. If you guys have got anything for Mr. McLaughlin, I see that his counterpart walked in here.
You did.
Yes, I apologize for my...
No worries, we're fast today.
Zach, just come on up. I think I've covered your proposal. And so there's no need to go over that, but I think the board may have some technical questions that you can answer.
Now, again, mind you, we have not really had a chance to, A, see the site, B, review the plans. They're all still here, like I said.
Right.
Everybody will take those plans home. We have received them via email from Shelby in the office here, which has been spectacular. But, you know, it's the way we've done it is to really listen to the applicant first, then start to digest and pick it apart a little bit.
Yeah, fine.
Sure, that makes sense.
So Zach, there's no need to go over the presentation.
Okay.
If I can just talk out loud to Zach, well.
Sure, as long as he introduces himself, that'd
yeah,
be
yeah, sure.
spectacular.
Hi, everyone. Zach Richards, Senior Project Manager with Bowler, so we're the site civil engineer on the project.
Welcome, Zach.
So Zach, what I've done while you were stuck in traffic is, basically given your presentation, told the board about the history and what have you, and told them that once we get done our balance, cut, and fill, there's 480,000 cubic yards left over. And that's basically where we left off. This is not a sand grab. This is, basically would like to be able to sell this sand and gravel that we're left with.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I'll just add some color again from a little bit more of a technical perspective. Again, we've been at this for a long time, as I'm sure George said. One of the key things he may have covered is just the North Carver Urban Renewal Plan.
Covered.
All covered? Okay. We've talked about the project history a little bit, how we were in front of the planning board as part of the definitive subdivision. One of the things that we submitted with the packet is a color graphic of the cut fill exhibit at the site that shows you and kind of tells that story, I think, of the topography challenges at the site. There's quite a large topography, a hill, if you will, at the front of the site, and that's shown in red and more orange-red colors if we had that in front of us. Tells a good story, and then if you look across the bulk of the site, particularly the rear, you start to see more green and teal colors, which is really areas of neutral, either 0 to 5 foot cut or 0 to 5 foot fill. So I think that exhibit tells really a good story of where the cut's coming from, and that the approach here has been well thought out to create again, more of a level developable site with reasonable slopes. And a lot of that export's actually coming from the red and the orange areas that you're seeing on that cut fill exhibit. So I'll just point to that and again, the total cut being about 720,000 cubic yards, the total fill across the site being 240,000 for a net export of 480,000.
I mean, you're talking about plans and no one can see them.
We haven't seen him yet either, so that's why,
This is a public hearing.
It is a
and the
public
is
hearing.
Here to learn about this project.
and that's what you're doing.
No, we're not, because we can't see what he's talking about.
Thank you for your comments.
So again, I think that exhibit shows a lot of the topography constraints that we're faced with at the site. Again, tying to the urban renewal plan, the goal here is to set this site up for redevelopment for future uses. We've done that in a very thoughtful manner here as part of this submission and filing that we've submitted. Generally gradual grades, like general rolling topography, slopes around 1% across the site. We understand the existing drainage patterns, so we've maintained those as part of the overall grading plan and the earthwork plan that we've provided. So at those areas where the site discharges typically to adjacent wetland resource areas, we've provided sediment basins there to manage runoff, control, and make sure we're capturing sediment throughout construction. And allow it to settle out where we can manage it on site prior to installing some overflows for that to overflow as needed during larger storm events to the resource areas, again, through erosion controls, including silt fence, and sediment socks where needed. But we've been robust with those erosion controls at those point locations, those overflows. But we've sized pretty substantial sediment basins at all these areas. I think there's a total of about 8 of them scattered throughout the site at some of those ultimate, drainage collection locations. So that's really the intent there, was modeling closely and reviewing closely the existing drainage patterns and doing our best to replicate those in the interim condition. And then our hope being, hopefully some of those sediment basins could be also function as the ultimate infiltration basins or detention basins as part of the future build out and future developments, which would be, of course, part of those individual projects at such a time. Some of the other key items, again, we've provided a stormwater pollution prevention plan, also known as a SWIP for short. Any disturbance over an acre requires a SWIP. There'll be a filing of an ENOI with the EPA under the NIPD's permit. So that's a living document that's going to be on site with the contractor at all times, well in advance of the start of construction, and followed to a T throughout. It's got very extensive protocol in that large, I think it's a 200+ page document of training all of the contractors, any of the staff, the personnel that's going to be on site needs to go through a training protocol. There's a form that goes with that. There's weekly inspections done for all the erosion controls on site, as well as weekly corrective actions or there's a corrective action log and time frame at which point the contractor is required to correct any deficiencies within 7 days. I mean, we typically like to operate at a 1 or 2 day, right? Which I hope we can do at this site and expect we can. So I think that document, as well as the plans and the erosion controls, the sediment basins, really details very thoroughly how this site's going to be managed from a construction standpoint to minimize and ensure no erosion or sediment transport off-site, and that it's going to be managed on the site. And I think the way that we've graded the site is thoughtful to ensure that we can do so. I will point out we are seeking a waiver for a portion of the site where we're grading within 50 feet of the property line.
Okay.
That's at the northeastern portion of the site, closer to Green Park Way. And there is a small, again, a very like a topo challenged area there, a bit of a grade change. We're really trying to grade this site around elevation 90. Based on the NAVD 88 datum. The abutting property to the north there is up around 108 elevation. And then there's a hill along that portion of the site that's up closer to 120. So really the alternative would, in my mind, be if you're going to maintain that 50-foot buffer, it's you're dealing with even more of a cut on that line, a potential very large retaining wall. And some of what we've done instead is a gentle 3-to-1 max slope, which is good engineering practice, very reasonably designed, stabilized to avoid erosion control. It's a typical practice max slope for a grass slope, which also allows the ability to landscape and provide a buffer there. But I did want to note that that is a waiver we're seeking for that lot based on a potential end user concept that does want to utilize, obviously, as much of that land as we can and some of the topography challenges.
You'll be seeking
we're
that
facing
waiver
there.
from Conservation? From the Conservation Commission, correct?
No, it's,
I think-
no, it's not 50 feet of a.
Yeah, sorry, it's.
Oh, you're
I
talking
think
about
under
50
your
foot of
bylaw,
the edge of the...
the
I'm with you now.
perimeter, which
Okay.
we took as the property line, like the external
Yep.
property line.
Okay, perfect.
Where we're doing earthwork and grading activities.
Yep, that'll be good for us to see when
Outside of-
we're out on the site.
Yeah, we can walk that area as well. And that's outside of Concom jurisdiction.
Okay.
So did want to point that out. I think in terms of just earthwork removal operations, right, looking at the goals of the committee and the bylaw, we've been thoughtful about the truck routing, which did come up in the planning board process as part of the
course.
definitive subdivision. So we've
Yep.
included an exhibit detailing how we're coming in and off of Route 44 to minimize any disturbance impacts to the neighbors and the community.
Excuse me, can you guys hold it down? Making it hard to understand and listen. Thank you.
So we think that's helpful in just outlining and standing by to avoid any detriments to the community adjacent to butters, minimize impacts during construction. And that would be, we expect in the range of 30 to 50 truckloads per day during heavy earthwork operations. We expect one of those front lots, lot 2, would, located between the 2 new roads, Road A and B, would be primarily used for material processing, topsoil stockpiling, and operations as we're working through the grading and earthwork across the rest of the site. Again, the goal trying to be to minimize exposed soil, right? So try to work through the site thoughtfully, where once we get to a finished grade in one area, we dress it with the topsoil that we've stocked, and we stabilize that as we're moving on to new areas to minimize the amount of exposed soil across the site. I mentioned the stormwater pollution prevention plan. I think the seeding, we're looking to use a conservation seed mix. We thought that would provide the best, just immediate and interim stabilization for the area. It's typically got a species of about 8 to 10 seed species, which is much more than a hydroseed lawn mix, which often has deeper root systems and will help provide for good interim stabilization faster. So I think in closing, the owners have been working hard at this site over a long period of time. I think this has been a focal point of the town of Carver and the redevelopment authority for a long time for future redevelopment. They've spent a lot of time and effort working through a lot of the remediation that was required based on pre-existing conditions over the last 10 years. And now we've got some really exciting, end users that I think are really consistent and would be a great benefit to the town of Carver. Some agricultural ties that are exciting, but this is kind of the next logical step in the urban renewal plan and in the process to hopefully drive some of those projects forward and get some of those end users onto the property and hopefully create some more jobs for the community. So with that, happy to answer any more engineering technical questions. And thank you for the time. Apologies again on
No worries,
my
man.
delay.
No worries.
At 400,000 plus yards, this is going to take a couple of years at 30 to 50 trucks a day. Is there a logical way to phase this project such that we could see how you phased it and we could go through an approval annually? Is there,
I
follow
think
what I'm saying? It's in line with what you're saying about.
Sure. I think there's some efficiency here in obviously like mobilizing once and moving through that. I think if there's typically a check-in type process we could go through, I think that'd be something that the owners would be open to. I think the time frame, it's not as long as it would sound. I think the mobilization we're targeting is in April of next year, install erosion controls, get underway with earthwork, and be wrapping up earthwork activities within a year and installing utilities roadway early the following year in 2026.
Yeah, but when you're
I'm pointing out that at 30 to 50 trucks a year, you're not going to get more than 150 to 200,000 yards out of there in a year.
Right.
So I'd like to control that on an
Yeah.
annual basis,
Exactly.
such that we can go in and say, here's your goal, your milestones, this is what you've done. We look at it and say, okay, that's right, that's how you have done it, now go on to phase 2.
And it's very typical of
And this
how
is
this
how
board
we've
has
been doing
been
this
reacting thus
Yeah,
far.
and I think we can do that, okay? You folks all think three-dimensionally, I think one-dimensionally, but if I'm picking up what you're putting down, I think the way we could deal with it, I'm sure we could work something out, is since we're gonna use that lot 2 as our staging area, if you will, while we're in there taking, and again, not to be presumptuous, but as we're in there processing, okay? Fine, if only a certain amount can leave the property during a period of time at 50 or 100 trucks, whatever it is a day, then we'll just devote maybe that parcel 2 to, to just stockpile all this stuff. Is that something that would be acceptable?
So what we've been doing is 50 truckloads a day maximum.
Yeah,
Yep.
5 to 5.5 days a week, depending on the location.
yeah,
Very typical of this board and our previous boards, to be quite frank.
yeah,
So when you look at an 18-wheeler, give or take, you're taking 26 yards.
yeah.
And at that point, to Roger's comment, the math is just simple. 480, 50 trucks, 480,000, 50 trucks a day, 200 working days a year, give or take.
Yeah,
So,
And I'm
Yeah.
after two things. One is truck traffic, so public safety there, but dust mitigation as well. And it goes to your point with reseeding and just making sure there's some process for if you're not going to just go and take all the trees down first, take the
Right.
entire property down and leave everything exposed to the wind.
yeah, which we're not gonna do.
and
Are there dust mitigation?
Yeah, that's outlined in the
in the
SWIP
plan?
too, yeah. Like
Because
a
that'll be
water
something
truck
we'll
as
want to
needed,
address.
right, which you'd expect, or,
yeah, so the
Proper
phasing,
seasons.
what we've talked about, the only thing that would be mobilization in and out typically is the land clearing, right? And the earth removal will be ongoing. Our general rule of thumb is substantially complete on phase 1 before phase 2 gets opened.
okay,
So that's typically how this board has been acting.
okay.
So just so you're aware, it's not, we're gonna say stop, come back type of
Got it.
thing.
That makes sense.
We are gonna do site visits periodically like we've been doing with all of our other open applications and permits. So we'll get to see it along the way, our agent will get to see it along the way. And at that point, if everything's clicking the way it's supposed to, if there are problems and they get resolved in minutes, not weeks, that's music to my ears, because they happen, it's, life.
Yeah.
So things happen. The fact of the matter is, if we're working together at this, it'll be a seamless process
Yeah, that seems-
if
that all
it goes
seems
to
fine.
that point.
Understood, definitely.
Mike, anything? Judy?
Nope, not until I see the plans. Will I
Yep,
have
so we've
more
got
questions.
we do have the hard copy plans that we board members will take, we'll sign them out type of thing. I'll look for them back at the end of this process. And what we'll do is, I think the next step is for us to go out and look. It's Christmas time, as we've talked about earlier. So there are people on vacations, there are family obligations, there is winter, we are in New England after all. I know, Roger, you're gonna be out of pocket for a little bit. Obviously, we're missing 2 board members today, so I can't speak to their schedules, but I know, Judy, you were gonna have some conflicts in the month of December for a little bit. I have only a few conflicts for the next, I'm gonna be gone for a little bit, but you're gonna be,
Anytime after Christmas.
anytime after Christmas.
I'll probably count on me.
Okay.
You can see a lot of the site in a truck, There are roads out there and what have you. We have the site blocked off, but.
Good.
But you can really get a feel. So if someone's.
So we can take kind of a vehicular tour of the site,
Yeah.
if you will,
Yeah.
stopping along periodic points
Yeah,
to talk about questionable areas or what have you.
yeah, I mean, I assume, if you're in trucks or Jeeps or whatever, yes.
Sure.
That the roads aren't,
They're not paved, but,
they're not bad, but they're passable.
Mike, do you have any restrictions for time frame?
None at all.
All right, so we typically do our meetings on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
The board and our agent are generally welcome. What we'd ask of you is to have yourself, the owner, your project engineers, and any other professionals that you'd like to have on site with you. So being mindful of that and being mindful that it is Christmas time. So we have scheduled our next meeting for January the 7th. So after Christmas, we've got the Saturday the 28th and/or January the 4th. Do I hear any pleasure from anybody?
Either one's fine.
Okay. Why don't we leave the week between Christmas and New Year's alone? And let's shoot for January the 4th?
Sounds good.
Or do we want to say the 28th and have a weather day for the 4th.
That'd be fair, as long as the applicant is available
Yeah, after
to
that
have
last
somebody
one,
out there.
weather day would be,
Yeah, it's fine for me. You-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did try to kill you that day.
I can make
that
it
was
work.
good, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So December 28th,
Yep.
and then a weather day for the 4th.
For the 4th.
Yeah.
That way there, it kind of puts you guys in a spot where you can, in fact, come back in front of us on our January 7th meeting date. So we're not kicking you out another month.
Yeah, perfect.
Now that your project engineer is here, did you guys turn your green cards in for all your abutters notices? You don't have to do it right this minute, but thank you very much. So right now, let's plan on December the 28th at 8 a.m.
Okay.
December 28th, 8 a.m.
Yes, sir, at your site. And if you could get, thank you very much, really appreciate it, Zach. If you could give us I think we all kind of know where it is. Do we need an exact address?
I think of where, there's a sign out there that says Charter, and there's a gate there. I think if
Okay.
when you go in Green Parkway.
Yep,
The old Montello Street, and you continue along toward Plimpton. It used to be called Park Ave. It's the main road into the property there on
Okay.
the left. I think if we meet there, we'll have it all opened and.
perfect.
And that's actually a good place to start, because right there is where we'll be looking for the waiver, so you can look at that right off the bat. And then, we can drive you all around the site, and I think there's really good access for you to get a feel for the site.
Good.
What we want to do, and, no.
Yeah, well, that's around the corner a
Yeah,
piece
yeah.
a little bit there.
Yeah.
I think we're all very familiar with where we're going anyway.
It does look, like Park Ave comes up on Google Maps still, too.
Okay,
so you
perfect.
can-
So Park
Park
Ave.
Ave and Carver at the very start of that driveway there.
Okay. All right, so we'll plan on our site visit for Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, December 28th, with a potential rain date of the January the 4th also at 8 a.m.
Great.
If you guys have problems with professionals that you can't come out for whatever reason, it may be. It happens.
There's my professional. He's gonna be early this time. 8 o'clock, I want you there at
Yeah.
7. You can go to Dunkin' Donuts at 7 and show up at 7:45.
So that's kind of how we do it. Thank you very much for the presentation. Sorry to
No, this was good.
disrupt it a little bit
Glad it worked
because we were a little bit ahead of schedule.
out. No, that's fine.
So there's a couple of things I just want to add so you guys are aware. I know you've read the bylaw and I know you've been talking to all the other boards. There are all the other boards that are required to have sign-offs for something like this that are listed in our bylaws. There is also a 40-cent per yard tip fee that we'll expect. We have a quarterly sheet for truck trips and such like that. We'll have some specific and special instructions if we get to the permit approval process. We're just trying to get it in advance. So over the next, again, it's December, so it's a little bit hard to get things going, but over the next month, if you guys can start securing some of that letterhead from the board heads and the departments that say, hey, listen, they've already jumped through all of our hoops.
Yep.
That way there we'll be in really, really tight shape going forward. Once we see the site, once we start to digest it a little bit, I think we'll have a ton more questions. The audience will have a lot of questions as well. I do believe, Shelby, does the town clerk have the plans?
They took a copy of the ones that I received.
Thank you. So for you guys in the audience, anytime you want to look at them, the town clerk's office has got them, the plans, so that when you guys come back on the 7th to chat about this with the applicant and us, we can all speak relatively intelligently together.
I have a question for you guys.
Yes, go ahead.
So that PFAS site, I didn't hear anything about water
Okay,
and the quality of water.
Okay.
I mean, it's capped. It wasn't capped as though I would like it to be capped. You know, we have a hydroflow underground, and that water travels, and it has come to Plimpton. So I didn't hear anything here about moving around of that sand and soil and removal with what's gonna happen to Plimpton. And I can assure you that I have coughed out many thousands of dollars for, the state came down and tested my well because of that PFAS site. I heard nothing from you guys about the water crisis in North Carver, which is a crisis.
And you will once we get our head wrapped around it. Right now, like I said previously, we've not seen the site,
I agree.
so that's,
However, I know that site pretty well.
I'm glad you do, but give us our opportunity before you get,
Okay, let me just say something. I remember when you guys, all these boards in Carver permitted the businesses that went up there to dump that stuff in. I remember fighting that with our selectmen in Plimpton.
sure.
We finally got rid of that guy, knowing what was happening, and no one from Carver went up there to see what was going on the whole time. And that is why we have a PFAS problem. And
So that is
so
what
the
we're
other
here.
thing- The
that-
other thing I want to know,
that-
I'm
that-
not done, I'm not done 1 minute.
Yes, you will be.
I want to know about.
Can you do me the
water
favor? Thank you. That is why we're gonna go look at the site, so we can understand what the applicant is asking for, what we're looking at.
And what about
But-
what about the public?
We,
What about
that's
hydrology?
enough.
Hydrology.
Thank you.
I thought this was
That-
a public hearing, sir.
Yes, it is a public hearing, but right now, this board has not seen anything about this. This is the process.
So what
This is for you guys to hear as well. That's enough.
To talk.
That is enough. What we'll do is we will understand what this process is, we'll understand what the applicant's asking for on the 28th with a rain date of the 4th, and then we'll be back here on the 7th.
So how do you get to?
Thank you very much.
So what about the questions the public has?
Please don't make me ask you to leave. I'm just begging you. I don't want to do that to you. Please do not do that.
When do we get to know what the applicant?
We don't know about it either. We just heard everything.
We get to know, you'll know by the next meeting, but we won't know by the next meeting.
You'll come see the plans, and then you'll be able to do exactly what we did here today. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will see you on the 28th.
Yeah, if I could just say one thing, because I know it's a concern.
Just quickly, unless you're going to open Pandora's box.
Okay, I won't.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you all.
We'll see you on the 28th.
Have a great Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Aye.
Judy with a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That is it. We are 4-0. Thank you very much, Ashley. Thank you to the members of the audience and the applicant.